Hello and welcome everyone to the Tech Sharmit Podcast. Today in this episode, we are going to interact with another special guest, Sunny Shah. Sunny is an esteemed expert in wildlife conservation. He has an extensive background working with re-owned organizations such as WWF-India and various state forest departments. Sunny's dedication to the cause is evident through his numerous contributions in wildlife conservation, including impactful projects in Western and Central India. Sunny's career is marked by over 10 scientific publications and 20 popular articles, highlighting his in depth research and finding in the field. His expertise is not just limited to the big cats, he has also made significant strides in the marine turtle conservation and the Central Asian flyways. So in this episode, we will discuss about his journey. But just before that, I'd like to thank Sunny for joining us today. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us something about yourself.
Thank you very much, Amit Sharmit. uh, yeah, so it's my pleasure being here and help your audience to understand the various uh, professional fields and the wildlife conservation, working for the mother nature. It's something that gives you two things. One is fulfill your passion, and definitely it's not that kind of a big corporate job where you mint lots of money, but it fulfill your passion. And I would say at the end of the day you will have a piece of sleep by just remembering your work that you have done in past and you are doing currently. So as Sumit said, my name is Sunny. I have been into the wildlife conservation since last 16, 17 years, and I have worked breadth and length with multiple species, with national and international institutions towards one common cause, that is wildlife conservation. And I love traveling, basically just for the wildlife, and I have got an opportunity to visit most of the wildlife areas in North and Central India, especially Ranthambhore Tiger Reserve, Kana Tiger Reserve, Gir National Park, and surrounding forest that supports these tiger reserves and national parks. So yes, here I would like to give more information about my career, the path that one can choose in coming time.
Okay. So thank you so much for this introduction. And now we would love to hear more about your journey into the wildlife conservation. So could you please share like what initially sparked your interest in the big cats and their habitats and how you moved into this particular domain?
Uh, uh, I really love to answer these questions, and I believe I have answered this question for thousands of times whenever I'm traveling in the train or whenever I'm talking to somebody from different field, that how you become into the wildlife, and how do you live with the big cats, and so many questions around it. So when it wasn't a chosen field. Honestly, I would say that I will work for this specific species. When I was in my school, I was especially during my final years in the school. I have opted for a science stream, and I instead of reading the complicated subjects like physics, maths, chemistry, I love reading biology. And especially when I did my schooling around 1998, 99, at that time we have a 10 specific chapters. Those were just talking about the environment, people, and some part of botany and other stuff. And I always love to read that 10 chapters, and I always keep other subjects. So I didn't know that this will take me somewhere towards the wildlife conservation, or working for the forest, or working for some noble cause. It's my liking. And when I completed my graduation, it was also not the chosen field. I honestly say that I got admission into the stream of environmental science, and I just uh, chose it to study on these various subjects around environmental science. And actual things that clicked, that I wanted to work for wildlife, that happened during my studies, during my masters of science, when I opted some odd subjects. It's like a natural resource management, and I got an opportunity to do my dissertation on vultures. So at that time, around I would say 2005 and 7, there were terrific decline of a vulture population around India. And uh, one of my friend, who used to be my senior also, he just intrigued me that why don't you do some studies on vultures? It's just 6 months study. You can work out something. And I pitched that concept to my mentor, my professor, and he immediately agreed that, how did you find out about this? I said I was just uh, asked by my one of our fellow student and friend, and uh, I thought I should do some studies on this. Then my guide, my mentor, Dr. Bharucha, who was the director of Bharatiya Vidyapit Institute of Environment Education and Science, uh, where I was studying, he introduced me to the one of the finest scientists who have worked on the vultures, and his name was Dr. Asad Remani, who was at that time director of Bombay Natural Historical Society, BNHS. And Dr. Baruch asked me to go and meet him and just propose your studies, what you would like to do on vultures, and just then go ahead. So I went and met him. At that time, even I was not having clue that what exactly I would do uh, for the studies. And after a 30 minutes discussion with him, he has asked about my passion, how do I do these studies, what would be the strategy. So I have, just like a naive student, I have opened my book, and I told him that I don't want to do a crucial science. I am not an ornithologist. I am not a great scientist. I am just a student. So I just wanted to observe and propose current distribution around my institute. And from that, the journey started. I was actually the first student who has done studies on vultures from that institute, and found out about the current status in the Pune city, the distribution of vultures around Pune. And from their journey begin, I got more inclined towards working for wildlife and birds, the ecosystem, the conservation, biology, and all. And I then got opportunity to work with the one of the autonomous organization of State Forest Department in Gujarat, and that first year with them have helped me to learn a lot about the wildlife. And from there, my journey started to work towards the wildlife in general. Now, one thing happened at that time. At that time, World Wildlife Fund of World Wildlife Fund India, WWF-India, they have proposed one emergency program in Gujarat, and that is on conservation of Asiatic lands. At that time, the Gir National Park has a lots of conservation issues, and mainly that is due to accidental fall of lions in an open well. If you see the uh, Gir National Park and the overall larger Giri landscape, the landscape is mix of forest, mix of agriculture fields, and the other geographical features. So there they used to have around 10 to 12,000 open wells. And normally what happens, the Asiatic lion is a social cat and that lives in a pride. And when they moves out, they disperse from one area to another area. They accidentally fall into the well, open well. And that caused, I think, so many deaths. So at that time, World Wildlife Fund (WWF) has put an idea that we should work with communities and barricade all the open wells with the support of communities, state forest department, and private organizations. So I have been asked. I read advertisement somewhere, and I've been asked, and I applied. I got selected, and from that point, my journey working for the big cat started. That was my first project where I worked with the state forest department, communities, and wildlife together, acting as a bridge. That at one point we were convincing the community to have a and don't to have a open well and try to barricade it so that there should not be any accidental deaths of lions, and same time identifying the crucial areas where such accidents are happening regularly. So this was the inwards. It's a small journey, but actually it has taken many years to
Right.
shape up, and that has ignited my further thoughts that I should continue working on big cats, and thankfully lions were the first one on which I have worked. Definitely not the science part, the behavior and ecology, the wildlife sciences that the buzzing word around right now, uh, the social media have. Those were the entirely different action plan, where you are just working for the species which is threatening by various anthropogenic activities and situations, and you are mobilizing someone who doesn't care about this species, that for
Species.
them it is nothing. They are just concerned about their agriculture fields, they're concerned about their revenue, their livestock. They don't give any damn about why we should work with you and save Asiatic lion. And those were the turning points when we convinced the communities and moved them to barricade the open wells, and we achieved, I think, we have barricaded more than 6,000 open wells
Okay.
in a span of 3 to 6 months. And from that point, I decided that I should continue working on wildlife, especially big cats.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Like your journey is quite interesting and inspiring also. So here, like I would like to put up one question on the behalf of those viewers who are interested in pursuing their career into the wildlife. So how can an individual pursue a career in wildlife conservation or any other field around the wildlife? So what needs to be done in order to achieve some profile which is related to wildlife background?
Okay. Oh, I think if one has to do something for the wildlife conservation, so first thing I just wanted to clear to your audience
Mhm.
and the listeners that there is no necessary of any specific degree. First thing,
Okay.
you can do best whatever the best way you can do for the wildlife uh, is part of your conscience. uh, there are lots of people who are into the wildlife photography. Certainly it's not that tagged or demarketed profession, but the people who are having passion, they go to the various parks and do the wildlife photography, and further they put it on social media, work with the other publication agencies, and try to circulate those images in a various forms. Second, if you talk about any wildlife and the wildlife and the issues, conservation issues around it, and put it on social media, you don't need a degree, just you need a understanding. So to make a profession, you have to divide this thing into two things. One is that you are working voluntarily for
Okay.
this cause, and one is you are doing a research on wildlife. You are working in a development sector, which is again aligned to the overall wildlife conservation, the habitat conservation, the forest conservation. So, for first thing, the working voluntarily through various ways, like doing photography, working as a nature educator, working as a zoo educator, going voluntarily all these places, or going voluntarily with the research institutes and the institutions working in field or state forest department, giving your 1 week or 15 days, doing various activities. That doesn't require any specific degree. It just required passion and motivation. Now, if we throw more light on the true conservation career, where you have an opportunity to build your uh, career as well as some economical status. So, for that, one has to pursue a good studies either in environmental science, wildlife sciences, zoology, botany, forestry, and look for uh, research organizations or look for a conservation organizations who employ such people, and start building up your career from that uh, ground level. For an example, these professions are, it's like you should have that uh, gist to do something. You should have that passion to do something. And I have seen many people who have joined such organizations and joined such courses, and after some time they just quit. They just move away. And I have seen people who have done graduation and masters with in such subjects, and then later on switch their career with MBA and other courses, because at some point they find that there are no further possibilities. But if I'll compare the period from my era and today, currently lots of corporate companies employing the people from this background for sustainable development. So right now, like if I'll see the job advertisements that used to come during 2007, 8, or up to 2010, and now there is a huge difference.
Mhm.
Lots of financial fintech companies, lots of corporates are hiring sustainable development experts uh, because they have to furnish some ESG goals and work towards that. So right now the opportunities are more, and under that umbrella, you can go with that. Either you wanted to work with the development sector so that you can work with communities, you can work on wildlife with specific questions and research. You can work with corporates and fintech companies for sustainable development of those companies and their actions. So uh, uh, it's open field, depends on individual's passion and interest. Otherwise, there are no boundaries. There are no boundaries. People can do best and pursue their career in wildlife. I know lots of engineers who have opted for their career in wildlife conservation with the technological innovation. Currently, people are using AI into the wildlife monitoring. Lots of engineers been working towards wildlife crime, wildlife trafficking by using their technological skills like monitoring call detail records, CDRs, monitoring online trafficking sites, black root sites. So the this field is now open for everyone, and that depends on which subject they wanted to on which subject, on which part they wanted to contribute more and achieve overall goal of conservation.
Okay. Yeah, so by all these statements, I would say that there is no foundation, and it hardly matters like from which background you have. But if you have passion for serving for this wildlife domain, then you can easily work and make your career into this field. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just I'm just giving why I'm giving example of photographers or a social media influencers or somebody is working in wildlife hospitality. It's a new terminology that just evolving.
Right.
So like after COVID, lots of people who wanted to travel, they have always preferred traveling to nature reserves, wildlife areas, because there they have a sense of security. The right now the lots of institutions are working towards bird watching, working towards animal watching, and everything is now reconnecting to the wellness or mental wellness or physical wellness. So there are lots of fields which are interconnected, and I think more fields, more exposure will come around the nature, the wildlife, the forest in coming time.
Okay. Okay. And as you have had a good experience working with WWF India and the state forest departments, so what were some of the most significant challenges you faced, and what all strategies did you use to overcome those challenges during that time?
Uh, See, the conservation of wildlife is very long process.
Right.
You cannot achieve overnight. Like today, you have posted something that save the tigers. You, it will not impact anyone.
Right.
It's a like we have seen advertisement on TV. We have seen like right now we are seeing more things on social media, and every conservation organization is trying to connect with the commons, with the people, with their citizens on various ways. uh, During my period, when there were not much impact of social media, when we have started working on wildlife and tiger conservation, our strategies were very simple. We used to work on a largely three things. One is we uh, everyone believes that the community is the first stakeholder of wildlife.
Right.
Uh, Forest department is the custodian of the forest and wildlife, but the first stakeholder is the community because they live with wildlife. They do coexist with them. Their houses, their livestock, their farms, all around the forest. So to conserve the wildlife, uh, you before any policy, you need the trust and confidence of these communities, and for that you need to educate them that why this wildlife need to be protected, why this forest, why this habitat of tiger or habitat of lion or habitat of any species need to be protected, and how does those things giving you back in return. Maybe there are tangible benefits or intangible benefits, but that has to be communicated in a simple language to them. So my first strategy is always that whatever science we used to do, monitoring wildlife or estimating their population or understanding their behavior, I used to translate. I used to make it simple in a vernacular language, local language, and pass it to the community with the uh, practices like education camps, nature education camps, or participatory discussions, and by building block by block. So once you start talking about the wildlife conservation in schools, it will uh, in a year or a 2 year, that message percolate further from students to their parents. And when their own child when talks about something good for the wildlife, parents listens.
Right.
And then you have to go to the second block, the the parents and the elders in that area, and you have to literally work with them, and you just can't talk and share your knowledge. They always ask, what is there for me? That's the first question.
Mm.
And if you go anywhere, it's even you or me or anyone listening, they will always ask you, what is there for me? So you have to be ready with such questions, and then you have to work other way around, that you have to understand their problems. If there is a non-stop crop raiding by uh, prey like deers, spotted deer, sambar deer, nilgai, then you have to work with them, that why the crop raiding is increasing. Then leverage the government schemes. There are plenty of government schemes that support the farmers to avoid the crop losses. So you have to interlock these situations. One is uh, you have to work very smartly with the students and the teachers and the parents on wildlife conservation. Secondly, you have to solve their problems. Without solving their problems, they will not hear you. So solve their problems, whether they are small or big. And lastly, third is communicating those success stories to the government, that because of your schemes on the ground and because of the farmers facing these issues, how we can use both the tools and solve the actual problems that is lingering around the wildlife conservations. So I have always used this strategy, is identifying the problem, communicating it clearly to the policymakers and the state forest department, and solving those genuine problems that the people are seeing, community seeing, and conserve the wildlife through them.
Okay, so somewhere we can say that we have to prove that this is a win-win situation for both the parties, whether it's a community and the government. So it's a win-win situation for both of them.
It's a win-win situation for both of them. There are lots of other activities and actions that one does. There are lots of organizations working on this multifaceted situation. But to me, the simple strategy that I believe is just not acting Santa Claus always,
Mm.
but identifying the problem and leveraging the current policies, and with the help of those tools solve those problems, so that you will have a win-win situation. And definitely our education and awareness is very important tool, because like if you do something and if you don't talk about it, how would the another person will get to know
Get
that
the information.
this can help.
Okay, all right. So now I would like to discuss bit about your research work. So could you please tell us about your research on the historical dispersal of tiger from Ranthambore? So
it's
how was your
always
experience there?
it's always close to my heart. And like I now I'm not much associated with science and research, but I always find time and go and visit these areas where I have done tremendous work. I read about it. So the one of my work that is very close to me is studying the dispersal of tigers from Ranthambore. When we have started studies before that, there were lots of people. They always says that Ranthambore is an isolated tiger reserve. There are no scope of uh, of dispersing tigers from another areas so that you can create a meta population or other pocket population. Ranthambore itself, honestly, is a tiger factory. It produces tigers, but when you don't have a the meta population nearby, your whole population can fall prey to the inbreeding depression. It's like any natural calamities or any disease can wipe out the whole population. So the concept of landscape and the concept of corridor that we came up with in this region is to have a long-term survival of the tigers. And those were our major studies, that we studied the land use north and south of the Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. We studied the corridors, ecological corridors, which is been used by various wildlife to reach from one protected area to another protected area. And we came up with with an idea of that some of the pockets, if get the tigers from Ranthambore, can repopulate and can be tiger reserves in coming time. So we started our studies in Western India, this part of India, which we call Western India landscape, where was our source population site, and we identified three corridors. One ecological corridor is going north from Ranthambore Tiger Reserve to towards uh, some of the districts of Rajasthan like Karoli, and some of the districts of Madhya Pradesh, the neighboring state, like Shahpur and Shivpuri. Uh, the southern corridors we identified, those were in again states of Rajasthan, and those pockets were known as Ramgarh Bizdari uh, forest and Mukundra Hills forest. Both are now tiger reserves. But
Okay.
I'm just not mentioning it tiger reserves because at that time those were not tiger reserves. Those were just sanctuaries and national parks. So we have extensively studied these three corridors, and identified the the potential of tiger dispersal, and we worked on these three things: is to how the community is engaging in this corridor, what's their pattern, how's their agriculture practices, and available habitat forest, what's their pressure, what's communities dependency on these forest areas, and how the animal is moving from this corridor to other protected areas through various wildlife scientific studies like camera trapping, science surveys, and we have also created a huge network of local villagers who used to inform us when there was a movement of wildlife in their region. They used to inform us, and then we used to go. We used to put camera traps and identifying individual tigers, and uh, and keep following those tigers where they are heading for. So one of my report, beyond the rims of Ranthambore, that has the entire data and studies of this landscape, and I am very proud of that report because we also managed to get forward by Chief Minister of Rajasthan, then Vasundhara Raje, and because of uh, her involvement, I would say approval on those studies. Uh, Rajasthan State Forest Department got these two forest pockets, Ramgarh Bizdari and Mukundra Hills Tiger Reserve, to be declared as a tiger reserve in, I think, in just a few years back. And those studies we have conducted in 2015. So these studies that we have done, in this landscape is always a landscape or not landmark study that has helped to garner more support for tiger conservation, as well as thinking for a long-term survival of the tigers in Western India.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, there are many topics on which we can discuss here, but just because of the limited time, so I would like to ask my last question, and I would take 1 or 2 more minutes of yours. So,
Sure.
what is the reality behind the idea that wearing green clothing makes a person invisible to tigers? So, is this a myth or it's a reality?
See, it's there are lots of people who wear green and camouflage clothes when they are out on safari. So, if I talk from the science end, these animals who have a dichromatic channels, basically they have a two cones, red. They have a two cones, blue and green. And as we are trichromatic as a humans and primates, we see red, blue and green. So if you wear any bright colors, red, orange, during your safari, it doesn't matter to wildlife. Honestly, it doesn't matter to wildlife. But if you're wearing green and camouflage, it just help the perspective of viewing wildlife, because
Okay.
when the deer or a tiger, when they are seeing the anything, they perceive more green, they perceive more blue, but they don't perceive the red orange color. So if they see red orange color, they will see it as a green color only. For them it's a green. So
Okay.
it doesn't matter actually, but just image that you are the image that they are seeing with different shape and size and continuous movement, that impact their movement. Otherwise, color doesn't matter. It's just to maintain the decorum of the forest, to merge
Okay.
with the background. It's good to wear green and camouflage.
Okay. So thank you so much, Sunny, for joining us today and for sharing all these expertise with us. I hope you have also enjoyed this session. So thank you once again.
Yes, definitely. I have enjoyed a discussion with you.
Thank you.